Is Amin here, or did the holiday party get him?
What do you mean by here?
I saw an IG from him where there was a turkey vulture on his balcony here at the Elser, and I don't think he made it. I think it was huge.
We have replaced him with John Amaechi, and we will see if we find Amin at some point. But I have a number of holiday party-related questions, because when I got there yesterday, Izzy immediately apologized to me and said, "I'm so sorry. I did not know that this was no plus ones." Now, I'm standing next to my wife, and it's the first time I'm learning that there are no plus ones at our party. So I've broken the rule upon coming in. I didn't even know the rule, and then Izzy's apologizing to me about the rule, and I'm forced to consider for the first time the rule, because I'm like, Is it okay to do that? Was anyone complaining about that at the party?
The rules kind of don't apply to you, though, Dan.
Come on.
No. I wasn't asking whether I'm allowed to bring my wife.
You're always allowed to bring your wife.
Thank you.
Tony
Just in case you didn't know, I'm letting you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't asking for that part, but I did immediately feel self-conscious of, wait a minute. No one else is allowed to bring their plus one, and I'm here with my plus one. It made me immediately feel self-conscious. It's like when you guys got all mad that we were in Austin for South by Southwest, and I was staying at the Four Seasons, and everybody else was at a Days Inn.
What?
We were at the Two Seasons.
That is really?
Well, this is before I got control or more control over my company. I tried to rectify that upon noticing it. But this, what do I do about this? Were there people complaining that they weren't allowed to bring their wives or husbands?
I wouldn't say people were complaining. I would say people noticed that some people brought. I wouldn't say it was you, but yeah, like it was just kind of like, oh, I didn't know that was allowed.
No, you're like grandfathered in, Dan. Everyone knows the deal.
You are the grandfather.
You co-founded the company.
No, wait a minute.
Get it.
Again, this is not the part I'm asking about, and I will self-penalize here. It's not okay for everyone else to not bring their spouse and me to bring my spouse.
But it's been that way since we've ever started having company parties. That's just always been the policy. Like, I walked into it and I just assumed that there were no plus ones. And then I saw Izzy broke that rule, and I was like, oh, damn, this is going to be a fight. So
I haven't told people yet that John Amaechi is here in studio with us. We are thrilled to have
He's my plus one.
John Amaechi. I will ask him, as somebody who knows about these things, in a second. I'm going to ask him for an official ruling declaration on this. But before we get started, I just want to tell everybody, like, this is a historic day in the history of sports media. Like, in the history of maybe American media, never before has there been a greater disparity in the history of the spoken word and media between the words coming out of a single seat from one day to the other than Stugots being replaced today in this seat by John Amaechi.
It's the holidays, a time for peace, for love, for presents. And do I have one for you? It's Poppy's 50 Shades of Christmas. You're welcome.
I groan and run my fingernails across his neck, and he gasps a strangled moan. I sit down onto him, reveling in the fullness of my possession, reveling in his reaction, watching his unravel beneath me. I feel like a goddess. Anna, touch me, please. I lean forward and steady myself with my hands on his chest. Come on, baby. I need this. Give it to me. And I explode, my body a slave to his, and wrap myself around him, clinging to him like a vine as he cries out my name and climaxes with me.
Thank you, Poppy. See, Greg, that's how it's done.
Then collapses its full weight, pressing me into the mattress.
Es suficiente, Poppy. Okay, time to start the show.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugots.
I am here with what looks like a truly horrified John Amaechi. You don't understand what just happened there with my father and 50 Shades of Poppy, right?
No, that was madness. that was madness. Who thinks of this? That's the part that's amazing to me. Who thinks of this and says that's what we'll do? That combination of things and the visuals, the exploding watermelon. Yeah.
Okay, that is on the video product, the YouTube product. We will go out to our toy drive here in a little bit because after Tony and Roy competed against each other to be a better Santa Claus, we are now going to an even skinnier Santa Claus because Rose is going to be out there for us today at Dolphin Mall, and we will check in with her in a second. But I want to continue the conversation about the holiday party yesterday, which escalated quickly, okay? And when I say it escalated quickly, I don't know about the rest of you. But at one point, I looked up, and a Greg Cody who had had too many beers and was now chasing it with shots of tequila was drinking a shot from a hockey stick with David Dwork, and both of them at the end of that thrust their arms up in the air together in the moment of greatest solidarity I have seen at Meadowlark Media. David Dwork and Greg Cody did shots of tequila, threw their arms up in the air, and it was a soulful connection I was not expecting. The strangest buddy tandem since Roy and Dwork on the hockey show, and anyone I would associate Dwork with in general because he's Dwork.
Oh, man. That's great. That's great, Dan. Thank you very much.
What? Dwork is an unusual creature. Are we disagreeing on that?
Not necessarily. No, we're not disagreeing on that. I wish I could have joined in on that shot, but I'm
where were you?
dry. I'm dry right now.
Nobody's more annoying. Nobody's more annoying than the guy who can't stop telling you he's dry.
Yes.
I mean, stop. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. That's your choice.
I'm a vegan now.
And Roy
Do you think that was my choice?
And Roy was one of the last ones there. I remember looking at him. It was like close to midnight, and I'm just like, I would not still be here right now if I was sober.
Roy had more shots than the Minnesota Wild had in the third period.
I do want to talk about what happened in that game last night because to go on the road and beat 6-1, a team that had lost 7 times all season, with Tkachuk scoring 2 goals. Hey, there's a mean.
Dan, we were all talking before the show, and we all agreed. Last night was a quintessential Matthew Tkachuk performance.
Absolutely.
Just 2 goals, mixing it up, getting shoved and cross-checked immediately after scoring. What a special team this is. Because, as you mentioned, Minnesota, quite good. And that's not usually a spot where the Florida Panthers have a lot of success, Roy.
You remember that play where Ron Artest had where he was celebrating the basket and then he immediately elbowed James Harden? That's what Matthew Tkachuk did to Marc-Andre Fleury after he scored.
I mean, beating Minnesota 6-1, going on the road, scoring like that in that game.
Holden Kirill the Thrill to under 1.5 points, an achievement in itself.
He had a goal taken away from him.
Yeah, man, that one hurt.
Also hurting is Amin Elhassan, but I don't want to exclude Amaechi in the most aggressive way possible by not just talking about hockey, but talking about Florida Panthers hockey. They're
the champions.
Well, we can talk CFP. He's a little worried about the Sangs.
I want to talk about all the sports things now that Amin has joined us, but I did want to ask, Amin, if you have any thoughts on the holiday party, I would like all of them. You seem to have had a good time. I want from Amaechi some analysis of whether we're doing the party correctly or not as a company.
Wednesday.
I would like constructive advice. Wednesday's not. Poor Chris Cody had to sleep at the Elser. He
was all right, Dan.
Hump day.
It's a bad day, bad choice for the party to do it on a Wednesday.
It's a hugely bad choice.
Thank you, John.
Couldn't be a worse. What's wrong with Fridays?
That's a great question.
What's wrong with a Friday?
I was wondering the same thing.
I thought today was
Let's
Friday.
just do this
right
knowing
now.
that the pain on. I mean, I've seen some colleagues in here. It is not a fun day for some people right now.
Low energy.
Low energy, and also just that face that says, "I'm like a millimeter from vomiting in a bucket." That type of thing.
That's fine for me. I was dry.
See right through me.
I'm a vegan.
Sorry,
now.
you were dry again?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. This is one of those vegan things. Have to tell you.
God damn it.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for boring.
I'm also very dry, but that's just because I'm extremely dehydrated.
Nobody likes that person who's telling you all the time that he or she is dry. Amin is clearly not dry. Where do you stand as an advisor for for an assortment of corporations as a psychologist, where do you stand as what it is that should be allowed at the company party? Because I felt a bit self-conscious not allowing everybody to have a +1, and I don't know what the right thing should be.
Or just people take it for granted that you can't bring a +1?
No, when I got there with my wife, Izzy's immediately apologizing to me because he did not know it was no +1s, which is the moment that I realized it was no +1s. And so it was not my decision, as many things around here are my responsibility, but not my decision. And so I really don't know what's right here, though.
Well, what's right is having a decision that you make that everybody knows, right? So either everybody knows it's +1s or everybody knows it's not +1s. I think no +1s. We just had our holiday party on a Friday, by the way. On a Friday.
Novel concept. No
so
doubt.
that people can be pained on their own time.
Right.
Which I think is better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this was, like I said, grandfathered in. I walked in with the expectation that there were no +1s because ever since we've been a company, there have been no +1s. So it wasn't even a topic of conversation.
Make the rule.
Just is he doing it? We're fine with you doing it, Dan.
But Mike,
but it's Izzy's first holiday party, so he had no idea that this was like the rule.
But it's my first holiday party, and I didn't know it was the rule because at the previous holiday parties, I had not noticed that was something that was happening. It's just I wasn't paying attention to it, and I had noticed it. I had not noticed it, and I probably wouldn't have even noticed it last night. If
sure?
Izzy,
that just doesn't sound right. Like,
Will
you
you
co-founded
not
this
bring-
company. How is it your first holiday party?
That is weird, by the way.
I don't
That's
think
weird.
it was my I don't think it was my first holiday party. I think it was my first holiday party where this was pointed out to me. I haven't noticed it at previous holiday parties. It wasn't something that I was conscious to. And the last one I went to, I didn't go with my wife.
Did you just think like nobody could make it?
Man, they all couldn't make it.
Wow, what a coincidence! Like nobody's partner could make it.
That does seem a bit convenient. Yeah. Why don't just make a rule about this?
Well, there is a rule. It's no +1.
Except Dan.
Totally fine with that. Like,
Except
we
for
get
Dan.
that. Yeah, no, he's a co-founder of the company. He gets to bring his wife. We're good. Thank you for the bar.
I believe I deserve to bring someone as well.
So what is your ruling on this? Because I haven't actually even talked to any of our
No +1s.
executives about how it is.
No +1s. No +1s. It's the work family together. Chance to let your hair down. That's it.
Hear that, Izzy?
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. I felt so bad. I felt so bad for Izzy because he immediately became self-conscious. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Should the company make holiday parties always +1? Yes or no is the question that I want to put before you. I mean, how much are you hurting? How much fun did you have? Were you one of the people taking shots off of a hockey stick?
I missed the hockey stick shot. I saw you imbibe in that and indulge in that, and yeah,
I saw your face after too, Dan. I didn't like that.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I've never done it off a hockey stick before, so I did not know what we were doing. So when they said, "Do you want a shot?" I said yes, and I asked for a mezcal because I thought I would be sipping it. Once a mezcal becomes a shot and it's super smoky, you've made a mistake. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't drink that as a shot. You need to sip mezcal. Like drinking it, nobody does shots of mezcal. That's not something you do.
I do.
You're dry.
You're dry.
Yeah. Well, come on now. Don't do this to me.
I don't know.
Why would you walk into that?
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for boring.
Double minor.
No.
Double minor.
I said if I wasn't dry, I would.
Roy,
but I never mentioned the word
Roy,
dry, and I said, okay, I'm not.
Appeal
You
it.
said dry 7 times in the last 10 seconds.
You can appeal it to the commissioner if you want. You can argue on your way off the ice. You need to get out of here again because you're dry.
You know a great moment from last night? Because, yeah, some of you guys were doing the shot skis with tequila, which is insane. The pickleback is the greatest shot known to man because you take your shot of whiskey and then you immediately hydrate yourself with pickle juice. Now, Greg Cody, I happen to know, loves pickles and pickle juice. He had never had a pickleback in his entire life. In his 215 years on this planet, he had never indulged in a pickleback, and I ordered him one, and as soon as he knocked back the pickle juice, instantaneously, wow, where has this been my entire life? It was just an incredible moment.
What an honor to introduce Greg Cody to something alcoholic.
Did you have a turkey buzzard on your balcony, and why is your lip swollen, and is one of your teeth, do you have a bloody mouth?
No, yes, I have a split lip right here. I was running across the street last night, and I face planted, and it was a bloody mess, and I don't mean it in the John Amaechi way.
What happened?
I just described what happened.
Yeah, you did.
What, were you drinking?
High sticking.
Were you drunk? Like, what happened? Like, what?
Nah, I mean,
you're just clumsy?
I was clumsy, and also alcohol may.
Well, why were you running across the street? Like, what?
Because to not get hit by a car.
I think it was going down 9, 8, 7.
Yeah, little jaywalk.
It was the car
action.
I can beat him.
Little jaywalk action going. But yes, there was earlier in the day, and this terrified me, and I learned a lot of things, by the way. I'm talking to my sister on the phone, and out of the corner of my eye, I see some movement on the balcony, and I'm like, oh, usually birds are up there. And I take a look, I'm like, that's a big bird. And I looked at it, and it was like, that's a vulture. Like, I know that look. Dark feathers, naked neck and head, that's a vulture. And it just sat there. It was just kind of contemplating, and then it turned around and looked at me. And
It's like, why is your face bleeding?
Well, this is before. It's early in the day.
The turkey buzzard is telling its friends, you're not going to believe this strange bloody thing with a big lip I just saw.
Except he did it with an accent, so his friends didn't realize. Like, so it's like really terrible? Like, no, it's a bloody mess. Oh, there it is on the screen right there. Dude, it's huge. And it just sat there. And by the way, that's like a 20-second recording. It was there for a strong 15 minutes.
I will tell you that you would be stunned by the size of the birds we have around here that you think are small because you're looking at them from a distance on the beach, and if they landed on your balcony, they'd take your cat. Like, they would fly off with your cat. Your cat would be a meatloaf in the claws, in the talons of that bird.
It's funny when you go to the zoo and Ron McGill's like, wow, this bird has a 6-foot wingspan. And you're like, yeah, okay, buddy. All right, sure. And then they go like this and go, woof,
That's
and
right.
open it up, and it's literally the size of my wingspan. I'm like, holy
All of a sudden, they're the size of Shaq, and you're like, I did not know that.
Where'd all that come from?
So this is the crazy part. So I tagged the show, and I tagged Ron McGill because get Ron on this. I found out that Ron is out of town, right? Do you know how I found out? Because Ron's son responded to me. And yes, Sean McGill, which I thought he was lying to me. He was like, I'm Sean McGill.
No, that's it. My boy, Sean.
His other son, Don McGill.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget Juan.
Juan McGill, Lon McGill.
So Sean McGill runs only in Dade.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So like all these worlds are colliding while this buzzard is eyeing me down.
He works for Only in Dade.
Well,
he doesn't run Only in Dade.
He runs some of the page
some
stuff.
of it.
You know.
Okay.
They
Right.
count.
To run Only in Dade is to be a mafia king.
Okay, hold on now.
Yeah.
So are you saying?
Yes,
because
I
that
will
must
say
be
yes.
Juan McGill. That's not going to be
I
Sean
will-
McGill. That's
I
not
will
going to be
say
Don
yes,
McGill.
That's the Don McGill.
Dan, all I'm going to say is yes. I'm not going to say anything else.
Thank you. I mean, are you okay? Because your face looks swollen, and I'm now imagining as you were rushing, 5, 4, 3, you want to get out in front of the car. Now the car's waiting for someone who's in the street on his face, bleeding in a puddle.
Yeah, I gathered myself quickly and did the, wave. Thank you guys for not hitting me. And then after I got on the sidewalk, that's when I really started to realize, oh, my God, I'm a tomato can.
How long were you out of commission? Like, that looked like it hurt.
Oh, it hurts now.
Yeah, so...
Sounds like it.
On the heels of yesterday's discussion, just know that happens routinely in a hockey game, and they come right back, and they often score goals.
Well, I'm here working, so.
Well, thank you for your service.
And I feel like I'm adding to the show. I did the whole bloody joke with John Amaechi.
It was great.
was
But
a
if
good one.
Joel Embiid had suffered your injury, he'd be out for 3 months.
It's a fracture.
Well, I want to ask. This allows me to play a couple of Stephen A. Smith sounds, and I want to get to what it is that Tyreek Hill did on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. I'm going to refuse for the rest of the time to call it X. But Stephen A. Smith had some commentary on both Miami and Joel Embiid. And I want Amaechi's thoughts on this, and I want Amin's thoughts on this, because I so rarely question whether or not an athlete cares enough. I don't do that very much. But let's listen to Stephen A. Smith here hammer a Joel Embiid, who has had an assortment of injuries in the last couple of days. In fact, for the last few years, I've been a little bit bothered by the way that Mike Ryan goes with some form of this team's banged up or you have to play through that, when all of us have different pain thresholds, and I don't expect everyone to have the pain threshold of a hockey player. That's not my expectation.
Or a podcaster.
But let's listen to Stephen A. Smith here just go after Joel Embiid as somebody, he cares very much about Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is just hammering Joel Embiid.
you're about a tad bit away from being compared to Ben Simmons. It's starting to look that bad. Now, let me tell you something right now. You bring up the injuries and all of that stuff. I look at the disinterest on his face. And that was before it got cracked, okay? I look at the disinterest, the lack of enthusiasm, whatever. And we can talk about his injuries, and fair enough, Perk, right? But here's the problem. You were injured last year. You only played 39 games. In the playoffs, obviously, you got bounced in the first round by the New York Knicks. You didn't look that way in the Olympics. Looked pretty damn happy. Looked pretty damn happy playing in the Olympics, okay? And then inexplicably, you ain't ready to go come this season, all right? And I'm looking at that, and I got this list of injuries here, just so y'all know. Sinus fracture. Foot, knee, health protocols, back, hand, face, ankle, shoulder, calf, hip, elbow, ribs, injury management. That is why I was against your assertion to sit him down, because I'm going like this. He's always hurt. This brother will get hurt going to the bathroom. I gotta use him when I gotta use him, because I never know. Just because you don't play him don't mean he ain't gonna show up hurt. Wow. Evidenced by him playing in the Olympics, looking just fine, and then 2 months later when the season starts, there's nothing. He's injured, and it's like, what the hell happened?
I've got a disparity here. Mike Ryan is laughing. John Amaechi, a former professional basketball player, has just dropped his head into his hands. So who's right here?
It's not about who's right. Almost everything this man is talking about is the gaps in his knowledge. He's reading papers. He's not there in medical rooms with him. And I don't know whether Joel is kind of phoning it in or not. I can't tell. But when anybody utters a sentence, well, we can talk about his injuries, but, and then they want to talk about the way he holds his face, as if that ameliorates whether he's actually injured or not, is just ridiculous to me. Plus, the thing I just find distasteful about this man is the fact that he replaces reason with volume. Anytime he thinks his argument is lacking, he just gets louder. And to me, that is the sign of the belligerent drunk at the end of the bar, not a kind of seasoned reporter on this type of stuff.
So you're saying he had a dry take?
Okay, that's got to be one of those buzzers.
It's got to be. Come on. What are you talking about? I wasn't even talking about alcohol.
Instantly, it's got to be. Can we find it?
I'm looking for it. It seems to have moved somewhere.
The penalty starts.
Let me find it for a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please keep. Yeah, here. There we go.
Oh, come on.
Good Lord.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for boring.
How many of these minors do you get?
Racking up these minors.
Stephen A's tone was very good there.
It's an excellent tone.
Also, Joel Embiid is very soft. But I was laughing a lot because, no, Joel Embiid's super soft. It's a fact. But every time I watch Stephen A. Smith, I just marvel at how good he is at this.
He's incredible.
He's incredible.
He's incredible.
Yeah,
the delivery.
He's got papers in front of him, but he's reading it better than anybody in the biz.
He read through like 18 injuries in a matter of 3 seconds.
Guy's the man. Incredible.
He's a good broadcaster, I'll grant you that.
He's the greatest.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Okay, I wouldn't know what to compare him with.
He's uncomparable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
No comparison. No comp.
Again, he can be really good at something. Most of my Twitter feed at the moment is me arguing that people who are very good at what they do are also terrible people. So you can be both things at the same time. And to me, I'm always amused by tiny people who like to say that 7-footers are soft, but only when the 7-footer is a continent away. It's like
no.
He's in Philly though. He's in Philly.
I'll tell
so
Joel Embiid to his face.
See, everybody says that until they're in the room.
No,
so it's interesting to me.
What's Joel,
the closest we've got here
is
the gentleman here who wanted to challenge me to a basketball game and insist that I wouldn't be able to back him down. So I mean,
we've got the court upstairs, by the way.
He still wants it. Still wants it.
I'd like for people to see the size difference, if nothing else. If you're not going to give us, we do have a basketball court here in the hotel.
Do we?
We also have a rock climber.
Where?
We got all.
Oh damn, your lip looks really bad, dude.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we can do rock climbing too. We should make. Let's see, because we've got rock climbing, we've got basketball, we've got an assortment of things here. Let's see what we can do with John Amaechi. But Amin, can you tell me what you think of this Joel Embiid thing? Where do you land on all of this?
I am forever in the side of if someone's hurt, they're hurt, right? If someone's injured, they're injured. Like, I'm not going to get mad at Grant Hill for not having the career I thought he should have had because he got hurt, or Penny Hardaway, or Brandon Roy, or now Joel Embiid. Now, there are times where it's like you are making decisions in your life that are linked to why you're hurt. For example, Zion Williamson and his weight. We'll take people like that to task more, but Joel Embiid, this is his third facial injury. He's had orbital bone surgery twice, and now this is a sinus fracture. Like, that's not his fault. He's getting hit in the face. It's just bad luck. Now, to what Stephen A. was saying about the Olympics, this is the interesting thing. So Embiid gets hurt last year. And by all accounts, he should have just stayed hurt. But he was rushing to come back. And everyone was saying, why is he rushing to come back for a playoff run that's not going to go anywhere? Because the real goal was to come back for the Olympics. He wanted to play in the Olympics, win a gold medal, because, that's a great resume builder for someone who wants to be a Hall of Famer one day, right? But he understood, if I come back for the Olympics but not for the playoffs, Philadelphia will turn on me. So I need to come back to show, hey, guys, I tried, I gave it my all, which he did, but obviously that did not help the situation because he probably came back too early, and we saw with the Bell's palsy and all the other stuff, right? So then he goes to the Olympics. He did not look like himself. He had a couple of good games. He had a lot of stinkers because, again, not 100%. So now he's come back from the Olympics. He should have been resting this whole time. He's not ready for the start of the season, and this is the part where I think the Sixers failed because rather than be upfront and say, all right, came back to the Olympics, this dude is not right, we're going to shut him down and try and get him ready by Christmas or whatever. They said everything's fine until day one of camp. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's out. And that's what kind of turned the ire of everybody. Okay, this guy's picking and choosing when he wants to play and when he doesn't.
That was as insightful a take on Joel Embiid that I've heard. And I'm not speaking for Sixers fans. I'm just speaking for myself here. I truly don't resent Joel Embiid for being hurt. He's dealt with a lot of legitimate injuries. I think where the resentment comes from the casual sports fan, the casual NBA follower is, I resent you for sitting out to avoid getting hurt. Because he does that a lot. There's a huge chunk of this percentage where Joel Embiid is not on the court because it's a part of a maintenance plan. And I think Stephen A. kind of spoke to that in that, okay, but you sit out to avoid getting hurt, but you're just going to get hurt anyway, so just go out there.
So I'm sorry, John.
No, you go.
Look, it's just because why was Joel Embiid hurt last year? Do we know why? Do you remember why? What happened?
Well, at the end, he's got the Bell's palsy.
I'm not talking about the Bell's palsy. I'm talking about the injury that he recovered quickly to get back to give us Bell's palsy later.
Wasn't the meniscus?
It was the meniscus. Do you remember what happened? So his meniscus.
He dunks. You're talking about You're not talking about dunking against the Knicks in the playoffs where he's got that giant dunk, lands, and his knee collapses.
I'm talking about the injury he recovered from in order to play against the Knicks in the playoffs. He got hurt because he was on a maintenance plan because his knee was not good. His meniscus was not good, and they're trying to say, hey, how can we get him out there but not jeopardize him? And then he missed the Nuggets game, and even though he plays historically, every time he plays Jokic, he plays really well, everyone said, you're ducking Jokic. Everyone said that. So he comes back against Golden State when he shouldn't have played, and everyone's watching that game. And I know multiple people who were at that game, they were like, this guy doesn't look right. This guy doesn't look right, and boom. That's where he ruptures his meniscus.
I also watch him play, and I know his proclivity to get injured, and I wonder aloud, then why are you flopping around throwing your huge frame on the floor? Why is this a part of your game? Because it is. It's an annoying part of Joel Embiid's game. If you're so susceptible to injury, why haven't you eliminated that part from your game, where you embellish to get calls because you're a gigantic guy falling on the hardwood?
I mean, I want to go to Amaechi here so that, and you know how the protocol works here, so we've got to respect the seat here. So we can't be interrupting Amaechi anymore. Amaechi, when he wishes to speak, he gets the floor from all of us. But I noticed that with your swollen lip, when you send maintenance plan, you seem to have a lot of difficulty with L's with your lip.
No, it's easy. Maintenance plan.
Say it again.
Maintenance plan.
There's a slight.
There's a W. It seems like you're spelling
it's
it with
speech impediment. It's temporary. It'll go away. Leave the poor man.
All right. What were you saying? That he, the poor man with the bloody face, immediately interrupted you.
He didn't interrupt. It's just we're so cavalier about, if you sit out to protect yourself and get injured, why don't you just get in and get injured? It's like that's an incredibly cavalier approach to somebody whose entire career and life and livelihood depends on his ability to prolong this. No job should have a body count. No job should leave you unable to function in your old age, and we've no idea what the impact of these repeated injuries will be on him. I pulled my back playing paddle the other day. It's 6 weeks ago, and even now I'm on 2,000 milligrams of some ungodly anti-inflammatory just so I can walk and sit.
And you think you can back me down?
I got Tony now.
There are difficult jobs and then there are lightweights, and you are in that latter category. Wow. So that's, I mean, good Lord. Yeah, I don't have to be able to move. I could, anyway, I won't go into that.
You got to be able to move.
Is it fair to say that Stephen A., who often represents the voice of sports fans, it's why he's popular, there's just such a Joel Embiid fatigue? It's the story with him, and that's cool. Like I do consider him a Brandon Roy. Sometimes the body just gives up. But this is a tireless exercise, and also just I don't like how he plays. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the Sixers.
So say
it's
all
just
of
annoying.
Those things. I agree with you. Say all of you.
I
You
am
made
on
that
the front end.
I've never watched him. I haven't watched him play, frankly. But
you'd be so annoyed with
but
him, dude.
That thing about if he is flopping on the floor, then there's a legitimate target for the irritation that people have in that action and saying, why haven't you changed that? But the targeting of the fragility or not of his body, as if we can all understand what it is to carry the amount of weight. Have you noticed the number of big guys who just don't make it that long? The number of league players, people I played with who pop their clogs far earlier than you can imagine. And so I'm not that cavalier about the health of people who I know already have shortened lives.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Have you ever before heard the phrase, popped their clogs?
I don't even know what it means.
It means you died.
Oh,
really?
I thought that was like a shoe.
I thought it was like twerking.
Worse than I thought.
I don't know what popped their clogs is. Perhaps you'll explain
Clogs?
it to us. We will get to Diana Rossini here in a second.
No, so the thing when it comes to what John is talking about is the human body is not meant to be that big and also doing all these incredible things, like moving that fast, jumping that high.
A 300-pounder during a football game named Ledbetter did a backflip to celebrate something, and I'm like, how is that possible that can do that?
It's possible with a massive cost. There's a price to that, and it happens not when we're watching. It happens years later, and there's so many people who, quite frankly, like they pop their quags, as John said, right? Like, I mean, like Jason
Quags.
Collier. You could talk about Sean Rooks. Like, these are guys that were. Sean Rooks is the one I always think about. Sean Rooks he played in the NBA, and then he was an assistant coach, I believe, with the Sixers. This is a guy who ate good, didn't smoke, didn't drink, worked out all the time, and then every year, as a member of the training staff, the coaching staff, you get a full physical. That's part of what we do on camp, opening day at camp. This guy dropped dead. Why? Because the human heart was not meant to pump that much blood to that far of an extremity all the time, and his heart just gave out, even though he did everything right. So, yes, when guys are hurt, particularly big guys, allow them that grace.
And in closing, I think another thing that Joel Embiid falls victim to is, okay, you have this frame that's susceptible to injuries. A lot of the Philly frustration is, then why don't you take care of your body more? Because his conditioning is constantly under scrutiny because you're always unhealthy. Why don't we change up the conditioning plan? Why don't we do something different? And he seemingly hasn't. To at least the casual sports observer, they have no evidence that he's doing anything about it.
I'm always hesitant to question some of the things that we're questioning. Somebody's mental frailties, somebody's physical conditioning when he looks like Joel Embiid, and you're going to tell me that that's out of shape, and maybe it is, but I don't know how he takes care of his body. I'm assuming a body doesn't look like that with that body fat index unless he's taking care of it at least some. I don't know whether he's taking care of it perfectly, but Diana Rossini joins us now, and I want to tie this to these Brian Callahan quotes where he's objecting as the Titans coach. He was asked, the question was put to him because, again, his season is awful. It's in Mason Plumlee. It's in Mason Rudolph
Might as well have
land.
been Mason
yeah,
Plumlee.
yeah. It's just in and so when he's asked whether many believe that his team is soft physically and mentally, playing that sport like that it just enrages me. He says, "I mean, you really want to get me going today? Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think that's complete and total bullshit. If you want my honest opinion, these guys are tough bleepers, man. They go after it every day. They play hard as hell, and at no point have we ever put on tape at any point this season that this is a soft football team. I can't even wrap my mind around how that would even be a conversation. Just because we don't win games doesn't mean we're soft. These guys play their ass off. They play hard. They play physical. You can ask any team that plays against us that when they come off the field, they know they played us." Well, that's not saying much. I mean,
We
that's
just won by 40.
Better is to beat the football team that knocked them so unconscious that they don't know who they just played.
I like it feels like a straw man. That's not one of those finesse teams. Everybody knows, like,
Straw man.
that's been Tennessee's identity for a long time. Like, they may not be good, but they're going to be tough to play because they're a tough team.
Well, Diana, thank you. The host of Scoop City and the senior NFL insider for The Athletic. What do you make of this, and would you describe any team in the NFL as soft? The Dolphins get it more than anybody.
I don't know. I guess when I heard that, anytime a leader is trying to rally a losing locker room and really speak for his team, you have to give him credit for standing up there with such a bad record. But to me, my thought was, who's got to answer that long about something you aren't? Like, that was a long answer about the toughness of a team that stinks. And Mike, that's a great point you make about the Tennessee Titans' identity of toughness. Not this team. That's the Mike Vrabel Titans. This is a whole new roster of guys. The guys that were on the team over the last few seasons, the ones that played in the AFC Championship game, those guys were tough. And they didn't have a lot of stars, right? They just had Derrick Henry. At one point, they had A.J. Brown. We all know where A.J. Brown is now. In fact, I actually saw A.J. Brown on Sunday night at the Link after the Eagles took care of business against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we were talking so much about that Tennessee team that he was on when he was a rookie, where he really took off. He obviously spent a few years there. And he said that. He's like, because I was asking him to compare, the difference between the Tennessee Titans and the Philadelphia Eagles. He's like, well, we just have a lot more talent here. But the toughness is what that team was made of. So, look, I know what Brian Callahan's doing, which is protecting his guys who are going out there every single day, sacrificing their bodies, doing all the things that we know football players do. I just think he doesn't really have a pulse on really what is happening with that team, which is they don't look like they have a lot of direction, and they don't look like they know what they're doing most of the time. And that's why I think this offseason is going to be a really big one for this Tennessee Titans team. I think they're sticking with Callahan. He has a lot of respect in that building. Players around the league respect Brian Callahan. He's a smart guy. I just think this was a tough first year for him, and he's going to have to learn a lot.
But Diana, soft? Like, what are we doing? Look at what these human beings are doing. Like, yes, you can make the argument that one team is tougher than the next, but you will not be able to convince me. Like, you can make the argument. You won't be able to prove it to me. You will not be able to prove it to me.
Dan, if I may, isn't the implied gambit that we understand they're tough? They're playing football, a game of real estate acquisition. But by comparison to other teams, they are soft. And if that is indeed the gambit, then it's a fair accusation.
Yeah, Mike, I've talked to players all around the league that are on teams right now, and they don't play hard. They'll admit that. There's different levels of playing tough. Do they want to go out there and lose and get embarrassed? No. But there are certain teams where there is an accountability and expectation that you're going to put everything on the line. And there's different versions of it. So to just blanket it, Dan, as every person that plays in the NFL is playing tough at all times.
No,
I don't think that's accurate.
The part that I'm objecting to is this. Like, if you want to make your assessments on this, you can make them, but you don't have the proper information to make the accusation. Like, it's not wins and losses. I don't know how you're measuring these things when you don't know the pain that someone is playing through. Like, you're just looking in their eyes, and you can tell me they're not tough?
I guess I've watched football long enough that I think I can tell, like, which teams are tough, and their identity is we are more physical. It's something that you know when you see.
And then you're making a good point. Is like, how can you tell without being inside and having that information? But I think what Mike is trying to impress upon you is that we're not comparing them to us. Yeah. We're comparing them to their peer group. Okay. In the same way, when I say such and such is a bad basketball player, I'm not saying compared to people on the street. I'm saying compared to the best basketball players in the world.
All right, so let me ask you this question. John Amaechi is here with us, okay? His feet were a little bit heavy in defensive postures. He was not much of a rebounder. Was your toughness question, yes or no? Because I happen to think I know what this man's toughness is. I happen to know what his professionalism is and what it is that he would play through. But did you get a reputation for somebody who wasn't tough enough, and how offensive would that be to you?
You're asking a European big from the turn of the century in the NBA if he was considered soft?
I was definitely considered soft, but it was for all the wrong reasons, right? It was because of the way I talked. This is the only reason I have a goatee is because my team said, if I'm going to talk this way, I need to have something that at least shows some. But that's.
I agree.
This is part of the problem with. I mean, I'm listening to this and I don't understand the context. Right? I don't watch very much of football, of your football, or my football actually. But it's just the language. It seems like it's being chosen because it's purposefully denigrating of the masculinity of the people on the teams. When you could just, if what you mean is, you think their effort level is lower than it should be for someone who is not injured and paid that much, then let's target that, because I think that's really legitimate. The idea that you would have people who are paying a disproportionate amount of their salary to either pay to watch ridiculously priced cable or to be in a stand and watch you, and you're not giving everything. No, unacceptable. But to me, the idea that soft is the language we use for when we mean something different, say what we mean, and then you could actually get to the heart of the problem.
But, I'm sorry. Amaechi,
we do all look the same. I recognize that.
Oh, goddamn. Oh, no. Guys, all right, relax. I slipped up. The name started with an A.
Yeah. And M in there, too.
He's been cooking today.
The chat has been saying I've been very good today.
Yeah, you're cooking. You're cooking. Yeah.
Meech, what I would say.
Hold on. I want to stick up for you.
You need some help from your black friend here.
Yes, Mike is colorblind.
Thank you. Oh, God. So, I think that was very well said by you. But here in the American sports lexicon, you describe somebody being soft. So I can go on a 3-minute soliloquy describing exactly why somebody's soft, or I can just label them soft, which is a lot easier, more efficient, and it's why Stephen A. Smith is going to command $150 million.
Yes, it's not easier though. It's you're right that it is easier, but it's not more accurate and it doesn't solve any problems for you. But it does make you feel better and more superior than the people you're talking about.
No, it's just efficiency. Soft. I got to fit it in 140 characters, and I can't fit what you said in 140 characters. And to Dan, I understand what you're doing, and this is a great discussion. But I think even you would concede when you watch the Ravens versus the Steelers. Let me take this example out to the extreme. You can see it, right? It looks different. Those teams look more physical. The game looks more violent. Those teams look tougher.
Yes, and I would say also that if you give me a great defense, it's generally going to look like that. And I would say in the case of Philadelphia, for example, you could tell me their offensive line is tougher, or I can tell you their running back squats more than anyone in the league. And therefore, there's going to be some problems tackling him low when they have that offensive line also that is very good and very strong. Very good and very strong can pass for tough.
Yeah, well, I posed this question to Diana. Have you considered that there's a correlation? They're a good defense because they're also very tough. Diana, are there good defenses
Usually
that are not tough?
That's the ingredient. Mike, you are spot on. The ingredient of a talented defense has to be toughness. There's no finesse in defense. No defense is dominating because they have a soft touch but good mechanics and they're technically sound. Okay, those could be true, but it has to be blanketed by overall toughness.
Okay, but
because that's what the sport requires.
All right, but if I'm looking at Myles Garrett, thrashing around on the field after getting poked in the eye Sunday, I could say, what is that? That's not tough. Now, I happen to know Myles Garrett is obviously a superior physical specimen, and I'm assuming at every turn that he is tough. But you guys are coming after Joel Embiid, and he's somebody that I assume is tough. He's playing through all sorts of injuries all the time, and people are always questioning how much he cares.
Again, Myles came back in that game, but also my problem with Joel Embiid is not that he's just this unfortunate dude that gets injuries. I think I can understand that concept. I'm a huge Chelsea fan. Reece James, hammies cooked. He's going to try to run out there. He's going to pull his hammy. That's just his body type. I resent Joel Embiid because of his style of play. He's flopping around, his lack thereof when it comes to conditioning. And also, I resent him for avoiding injury when he's perfectly fine in a suit on the bench. I want to see Joel Embiid go out there and eventually get hurt.
Perfectly fine.
Meech, I love that you and I have such different issues in life. You have this beautiful accent, obviously, and people think because of that, it sounds intellectual and perhaps in some cases softer. Whereas, I sound very New Jersey. It's the opposite. It's gross and it's hard, right? So it's we both have to battle things separately, which is why in this Jets piece that was published today that I worked on with Mike Silver and Zach Rosenblatt, I want you to do the audio version of the Jets piece for me, because I think if I read it, Jets fans are going to feel like I'm attacking them. But I feel like if Meech does it, they're going to go, okay, maybe things aren't so bad, and we could give them some hope to balance out all the stuff that we uncovered about this team.
It's a deal. I'll do that.
I'm going to get you right now the printout so that you can read some of this story. It is a banger. She works for The Athletic, and the news story she's talking about, inside Woody Johnson's Jets, it's the most dysfunctional place imaginable. We'll get to that story in a second.
You know, one of the funny things, Dan, when you talk about how people are labeled soft, when Meach was playing, I've heard this before. Like, hey, he's kind of soft. Like, what makes you say that? He's always reading books.
Yes,
like
I got that all the time.
That's one of in earlier years in the NBA. That was a red flag.
Wait, LeBron reads books too.
Just the
First page.
But there's always these weird kind of things that. There was a player I remember we were getting ready to acquire, and there were questions. Right, there's questions. Should we? I don't know what's he going to do in the locker room, whatever. And like the big thing was that, like, he dyed his hair or whatever, he dyed his beard or whatever. That was the big, whoa, what's going on here? And so it's funny how we've kind of evolved from that place, but we're still kind of using the language that Meach is talking about.
Yeah, it's just that even in the arguments that I've heard from everybody, there's so many accurate pieces to it that describe to me, and I don't, of all the people in this studio, I don't know anything about these teams, but the way you've described when you got granular with it, I could completely understand the frustration. It's simply that, to me, that frustration is lost when we start using words that are bound to trigger for no other reason than it's easy, and we kind of like the fact that Joel, this person who is otherwise untouchable, knows that we all think he's soft.
Juju, put it on the poll, please. Can you really be tough if you read books? At Le Batard Show. Diana is very busy typing with one finger on her phone, texting, getting to all of the information. And I will tell you again, inside Woody Johnson's Jets, this time I'll say it better, I hope. It's the most dysfunctional. I'm not going to say it better. It's the most dysfunctional place imaginable. I think the best detail in this is that they turned down a trade for Jerry Jeudy because Judy's Madden rating wasn't high enough. I think that's the best detail in this story. We're going to have Meach read some of the story, but Diana, do you think there's a better detail in this story than that one? It might involve Woody Johnson's teenage sons.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think the Madden rating stands out the most because I do think players worry about Madden ratings, but I always looked at it as something just superficial, something that just played into their egos and just wanting to have a high rating and be among the best in the video game. But the fact that the owner of the Jets used a rating to make a decision about whether or not he was going to trade Jerry Jeudy, that was stunning to me. And there are a lot of people around the league who knew about it. And this wasn't the first time that Woody had ever referenced a Madden rating in reference to Jets players that he either had on his roster or perhaps were targeting in the offseason. So, this trade was obviously with Denver, and they were certainly blown away. Like, wait, you're not going to trade Jerry Jeudy because of a Madden rating? And guys, obviously Woody Johnson's not sitting there playing Madden at 78 years old. I mean, if he is, that's cool. But I don't think he is. So the people that are his teenage sons. He has an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old son who he listens to a lot. And he's been part of conversations in the building. He's been in the draft room. He's in the locker room after games. The sons are part of it, which is normal, by the way. Most owners have their children part of the operation, part of their business. But there's definitely a lot of people that have worked for the Jets, currently people that work for them right now as well, who say that the teenage sons have a lot of juice in the building and affect a lot of the decision making. So I'd say the Madden nugget is certainly interesting. But to me, Dan, when I was collecting a lot of this intel, the story about Mike White really bothered me. And we dug on this, Mike Silver, Zach Rosenblatt, and I, to just get a little bit more information about how Woody Johnson was treating his players. So if you recall, Mike White was a bit of a New York hero there when he took over as the starter and tried to get the Jets in the playoffs. He ultimately wasn't able to do it. And he's playing with broken ribs. I know we talked about toughness a few minutes ago. And he was out there just battling through all of this. And the story goes, he came in the locker room and he went into the shower. And right before he went into the locker room, he's throwing his helmet because he's upset. obviously, and Woody Johnson yells out into the locker room in front of his teammates, "Yeah, you should throw your helmet. You suck." The Jets told me through a spokesperson that they later apologized. But that just tells you about the treatment of players in a building. That I understand that owners want to win. I think we all get it. He's passionate. He wants results. But to understand what was going on there and to treat your players that way, I think that obviously is something that does not reflect very well on this Jets organization. So that's just another part of this, and obviously there's a lot more to it.
But they're still one of the best places to work in New Jersey, according to franchise sources.
Diana's got to go. She's got a hard out here, so unfortunately she's going to miss Meech reading some of her story. That's unfortunate, Diana. We will talk to you next week, okay?
I can't wait, guys. Thanks for having me on, Meech. I'll be checking this out in a few.
Thank you.
Meech, we'll have you read it in a second, but you were shaking your head when she was talking about the teenage sons and how normal that is in football workplaces.
I mean, if you really want to win, your go-to for a person who really wants to win is nepotism, for starters, and then nepotism with people who are too young to drink or vote. Yeah, those are the sources of information I'm looking for. I'm not telling you that young people don't have anything to offer. That's not my point. But if what they're offering is, by the way, have you checked out the score that's in a video game for somebody? I've got to think there's better sources. I've got to. That's like asking me. That's like if they approached me to say, hey, what do you think of this Judy guy? And I'd be like, yeah, go for it or don't. Yeah, that's the quality of insight you're getting from a 16-year-old who's relying on a Madden score.
Jerry Judy, two
Absurd.
first names. It's unfortunate that Diana had to go because this is a bad week for the Jets, and I still think the saddest story about all of this is we all know openly, Diana's reported on it, Bill Belichick has open disdain for Woody Johnson, hates the New York Jets, right? Did you read the report that Bill Belichick circled around to the Jets before he took the North Carolina job? Hey, this is your shot. That, to me, is the saddest detail around the Bill Belichick stuff, and it's not him just lurking in the background as he signs a player from Holy Cross.
I have two songs to play for you guys. Taylor has one on Bill Belichick, and we have a listener that has produced one to compete with Taylor's terrible song. But we're going to.
His counterpart, George Patton, were deep in negotiations for a trade that would have sent Judy to the Jets and given a future Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, another potential playmaker. The Broncos felt a deal was near. Then, abruptly, it all fell apart. In Denver's executive offices, they couldn't believe the reason why. Douglas told the Broncos that Johnson didn't want to make the trade because the owner felt Judy's player rating in Madden NFL, the popular video game, wasn't high enough, according to multiple league sources. The Broncos ultimately traded the receiver to the Cleveland Browns. Last Sunday, Judy crossed the 1,000-yard receiving mark for the first time in his career.
There's something soothing about his voice. Like it washes over me, like just soft ocean waves.
Most of my team tells me it's soporific. I send them to sleep.
You do, but...
You should do the Calm app.
Let's do something with John Amaechi and the Calm app right now. I want to put something together now, but make sure it's got enough facial hair to be properly masculine.
That's right.
the co-host chair is vacant, and Dan is losing patience. Stugots is a big no-show. PTO, PTO, PTO. Oh, the calendar has no indication of a December-long vacation. He claims he let someone know. PTO, PTO, PTO. When we finally hear from him, after weeks of being MIA, Dead and Company reunion. I'm gonna be out until May. While Skipper should have seen this coming, the audacity's mind-numbing. But I guess we'll just go with the flow. PTO, PTO, PTO.
Can you guys do me the favor of putting on the screen what's going on right now at our toy drive when I was watching Rose sort of hula dance, Hawaii dance on her back, not wearing her Santa beard. No, Rose, this is not how we do a toy drive. Santa does not lay down on the job. I need you to get your beard on, and I need people to get to Dolphin Mall, get to Vivo, and conclude our toy drive today. Rose, how are you doing out there? Why are you not wearing your beard? This is not, you're very skinny for a Santa. How are you the skinniest Santa that we've had?
Well, I was surprised to see Roy and Tony there because they told me we were understaffed. And they were like, oh, you have to be Santa. And when I heard that we're there, I'm like, what? What am I doing here? So my beard, actually, I have hair, but it's not a beard. So I can pretend that it's a beard because I cannot find my beard.
Okay, that's very good work for you. We'll come back to you in a second to see how the toy drive is going. What's got airplane over there? They've got
it's on the track. No, it's on the track of the Miami International Airport. It's right there.
All right.
No, but yeah, there's an airplane, but we had a fan come and bring us toys, so we're happy.
Okay.
We don't need to get too specific, bro.
Just keep a running count for me. Please.
All right. Hopefully it'll pick up. It's good. It's good though that we got a fan bringing a toy. That's a good start to the day. Let's see if we can make it hundreds of fans bringing hundreds of toys. We'll come out to Rose again at Dolphin Mall in a second, but I want to play a couple of other songs here. Taylor's long past annoying me. Taylor likes singing awful songs, and we've given him wide berth on liberty to sing these songs. Mike, what are you doing? He's there? Oh, no. All right. So a listener thinks that they can do a song better than Taylor does a song. Yeah, well,
Impossible.
I don't like Taylor's songs.
He's a megastar. Internet chat agrees.
Okay.
They're all saying.
All right. Let's see what Amaechi's thoughts are on Taylor's song about Bill Belichick.
He sees you when you're practicing. He knows your favorite plays. Your script won't work on the first drive 'cause he's got it all on tape. Oh, you better watch out. He's getting his guys. You better find out that ball's PSI. Belichick is coming to town.
I tell you, it's so, your voice is so wonderfully restrained. It's amazing. It's like you treat the song with such reverence despite the fact it's about bollocks.
Oh.
It's amazing.
He's saying how talented.
I couldn't hear what you said, but just thank you for the compliment.
All right, most welcome.
All right.
Most welcome.
All right, let's pop his clogs. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you.
Balance.
Let's see what we have here from a listener. I don't know what this is about, Chris. Do you believe this is better or worse than what Taylor made for us?
I'm going to go with worse.
We have to...
24 was rough, the Dolphins are done. McDaniel tried his best, just wasn't enough. Bright spots, they had a few, and Johnny was one. Tyreek can't do it all, then dun, 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 dun.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that was bad.
A little overmodulated.
I think he needs like
overmodulated.
an engineer or something to mix it down.
Needs more Taylor.
Chris, you got to use better judgment than that. If you can't, first of all, those songs have to be called tailor-made, and every song we play needs to be better than whatever's tailor's made. Like every single song.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's not.
Sometimes around here, good is bad, bad is good. Like it's you know.
Are you a VIP? I'm a VIP. You a VIP?
Always.
May I continue, please? I want to play more Stephen A. Smith sound for you because he's talking about Miami, and I do want to get to this Tyreek Hill story because he set the internet ablaze with something yesterday that I was genuinely confused about its punctuation and whether or not he meant something else. But here is Stephen A. Smith's point of view about women in Miami.
At eGirlsXO, Stephen A., which city in the U.S. has the best looking women? And why is it Miami? Well, first of all, you answered the question. It's Miami. Miami is special. It's special. And I'm not just talking about the city of Miami. I'm talking about the outskirts. I'm talking about going towards Coral Gables. I'm talking about South Beach. I'm talking about, near Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. I'm talking about Coral Gables, like I said before. You know it's bad in Miami when one of the finest women you ever saw in your life is at a gas station pumping gas in Miami. That's when you know this place is different. Like different. I'm talking about the kind of beauty that stops traffic. Cats getting in car crashes because they screeching on their brakes, causing 3-car accidents and stuff like that. And then the accidents happen, and then people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? And they all look over at the gas station and go like this, oh, I understand. Miami's like that.
Okay, super creepy. Incredibly creepy. That is incredibly... I mean, talk about giving Child Catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang vibes right there.
I get the reference.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I know what he's talking. I know what.
Sure. I'm sure
I know
you
what
cut him
Stephen
like
A.
a
Smith's
knife,
talking
though.
about. I don't know what you're talking
The way
about.
he moved his fingers when he was talking at the beginning, as if he's just about finished licking them after eating chicken, that is gross. If I wasn't already gay, I'd be gay after watching that.
I want to talk some more about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I mean, when you came in here today, did anyone comment on your face? Because it felt like everyone noticed only when I said something. Because I'm looking at you. You look like you're in pain, and the left side of your face looks like it's swelling more as the show goes on.
Well, as you can tell, Dan, I've done a great job of kind of angling my body away from the camera so that all they see is the good side. Now I have a good side.
I'll flip around the other way for a second.
No.
But you've got some of your teeth look like they still have blood on them. Your mouth looks like it's bloody.
Does it?
Yes.
That's a bloody mess.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Nice.
Going back to the well.
So on the way in, I'm sorry, Meech.
Oh, Jesus!
Wow.
What is happening around here?
It's the AMI thing. Like that AMI sound, it's a tricky one.
That is the lamest of excuses.
With me it is.
With
me it is. I think they look exactly alike.
This is what I thought.
And look, let's stop hiding. Okay? When I see Amin, I often see Meech. When I see Meech, I often see Amin. I don't know why that's happening. Sometimes I see Roy. But all
me,
three
it's
of them.
Pure racism. That's all that's happening.
Appreciate you.
I'm just an out and out racist.
Out in the open. That's what we need.
So you've always said that. You've always said that. Don't hide behind the hood.
Yeah. My card is on the table, and it's a race card.
But we were driving in and on the beach because of what Stephen A. Smith says, and because just there are a lot of beautiful people. There was a man running shirtless with 6-pack abs, and I'm like, there it is, Meech, all over South Beach.
And who noticed him first, by the way?
I did.
Huh.
Are you saying Miami is special?
It's so special.
It's not special. The man looked like a sociopath.
Miami is special.
He had.
With the jogger or Stephen A?
You know what is the Christian Bale in the film with
American Psycho?
the obsession over business cards,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
right.
American
So
Psycho.
he looked like he was listening to Huey Lewis in the news, waiting for the next person to approach him, who he felt threatened by, to murder them.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. There's nothing attractive
God, he
about
looks
that.
so hot in that movie too.
This person also looked hot, oily, oily, and
yeah, it wasn't sweat. He clearly had baby oiled himself before he left the house.
That's correct.
Gross.
Who doesn't?
Special.
And the other
So creepy.
thing that it led to a conversation on, can you trust anybody who has six-pack abs?
And doesn't have a six-pack for their job.
Right, so not a professional athlete that's taking care of their body in order to make money. Yes, that's a good qualifier. It's a good asterisk, because I'd maintain if you care that much about that, there are other things that you're not caring about that I need you to care about.
There's
Like
also-
climate change.
There's genetics. There's genetics. Some people don't have to work out. I have my friend College Mike. That guy drinks a lot of beer.
No way
Rolls out
that
of
anyone
bed,
has a
8-pack.
six-pack without exercising. That
No, I'm
can't
telling
be.
you. He doesn't. He also doesn't eat for joy. He just eats. He eats for fuel.
I don't believe that you can have a six-pack without
I'm
exercising.
gonna have my friend College Mike send me a picture.
Put it on the
Oh my
poll
God.
at Le Batard Show. Can you have six-pack abs if you don't exercise? And can you ever truly trust somebody who has six-pack abs?
Doesn't it show incredible discipline, Dan? Like on the opposite side of the coin, it's like, look how much I can lock in on something.
Oh, agreed.
And do it.
No, agreed.
Look how much I can lock in on something completely immaterial and unimportant.
But imagine
this segment is going to descend into your listeners just sending in thirst traps. I can see what's going to happen now, and I'm here for it.
I would say to you that if you care about that obsessively, there are probably other things in your life that you're not caring about. It's obviously a blanket generalization, but if that's something that's that important to you, if you're a bodybuilder, I'm going to think the same thing. Like if you're a bodybuilder who's doing that obsessively, I think of bodybuilding almost as a body dysmorphia, really.
Yeah. No, I often
We're talking
look at
natty
people
or
that
not
take care
natty?
of their bodies, and I'm like, they're the problem.
Agreed.
I got it right. That person is clearly a psycho.
You can do too much, you know. Plus, half the time you look at these people, they don't look like human beings anymore. It's odd to me. It's odd to me. I don't want your skin to be like paper. That's odd. It's an odd sensation to be with somebody who has no fat whatsoever.
Oh. Yeah.
You mean like leathery skin.
Cushion for the pushing you're talking about.
Got plenty of that.
That's one of those things, yes.
He was not talking about cushion for the pushing. I don't know why cushion for the pushing made an appearance other than cushion rhymes with pushing.
He basically said Zagaki afterwards, though.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what I want.
Can you guys get for me, please, the sound from the Kanye West deposition? Because I do want to get to that in a second.
Vampires
Talk
were
about
so
creepy.
good. Why'd you do this?
And I also want to get to this Tyreek Hill tweet that was out yesterday that I keep promising to get to that I have not gotten to. But this deposition was amazing. And I don't know how much else here was as amazing as this, but let's hear this.
I see that you're looking down at probably a device. Are you on your phone?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask as a ground rule that you not be on your phone during the exam. Can we agree to that?
Well, is that legally what it should be?
I'm not going to advise you as to the law. That's why your lawyers are here. But that is my ground rule for the deposition, consistent with California law, that you need to be present, focused on the examination, and not on a device.
Due to my mental geniusness, in order to focus on this bullshit, I need to be on a phone.
You guys cut that short. He then put a mask on, and it was a wrestling mask, and he started doing it that way. And you guys said I ruined things, and you're smiling happier than I've seen
No, I
anybody
like that.
smile at Metal Lark Media.
Mental geniusness is great.
Well, there's one hat that says rooted in ignorance.
It's so sad, though. I feel so... I mean, he's a man. He has his own agency. I get that. But I feel so sad that you can be so unloved or so exploitable that no one around you is willing to forcefully be there to help you not embarrass yourself publicly, not humiliate yourself, not make you more liable for the things that are going to happen to you. It just seems incredible to me that no one loves you. This is the same as that scene in President Trump's first term when he had toilet paper on his shoe. To me, it's that again. I saw that, and regardless of the fact that I don't like him, I felt sad for him because he's surrounded by people paid to be around him, none of whom felt enough about him to stop him from embarrassing himself. And here it is again, my geniusness.
And one of whom is his lawyer. You would think that he would have said something,
right? Especially if I'm paying you. You have one job. How about you prevent me from being more of a liability to myself, and maybe even not humiliate myself? Wow.
I've read some stuff recently about, because one of the things that he said, I'm the richest black man in the history of the world, as he continued to talk on some things that can almost easily be clinically, diagnosed from afar as something in the realm of manic or bipolar. The way that he cratered Adidas as a sneaker business because of the crazed anti-Semitism and other things that he was doing, and he was so valuable to Adidas. I saw that they gave a lifetime contract to Damian Lillard. But go read, I'm forgetting where it is that I saw it, a story about the way that the way Adidas had to backpedal from the size of his brand and name and everything else in a way it never wanted to, because he was responsible for their entire ability to do business in the sneaker realm because of how giant his brand is. And he's been that. I've seen him be some form of that since getting punked by Ashton Kutcher on MTV. Like, where his arrogance as an early producer, before he was even any of this, was something that to marvel at in his early 20s.
I mean, there's video of his documentary where he's there, like, making beats in the lab, and, like, you see the pure ability that he has to create music. And then you see throughout that documentary where he turns the character into his reality, right? And that's the part that's sad, is you kind of lose yourself in that creation, but yet the ability is so amazing that it gets lost in translation.
It's funny that you should mention that, because one of the things that I couldn't believe where it is that people get lost in their character. I'd like to have this conversation with Stephen A. Smith, because I think it's happened to him some. But one of the places that on South Beach Sessions, I noticed it just this week with Lewis Black. When Lewis Black performs, he doesn't know that his fingers are moving like that because he's putting on a costume. He's been doing it for so long that he's putting on a piece of his identity and then getting out of that identity so that he doesn't actually become that. And so one of the things I enjoyed about talking to Lewis Black was just seeing the other side of him, because he was talking about it like if you would put on a robot costume, and that when he's done with his performance, if he sees video of it, he does not know that he was moving his fingers like that he doesn't have any awareness of it. The thing that sports television, I've told you guys this with Max Kellerman and all the places where people talk too much, including here, where it distorts me too. If you talk this much for a living, you become Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd becomes some form of what it is that he's trying to do, or he has to consciously take that off and leave it at work in a locker and go home, because the character will envelop you if everywhere you go, that's all that people are seeing. Like what Stephen A. Smith's life has become over the last 15 years is an insanity. It's a true insanity, where he is just delighted at how he ends up in all of these amazing power brokering places with those people desperately wanting to be around him because he's a cartoon character on television.
It's almost like Severance, right? Where you have to go to work and like leave your work self there and then go back home and be able to be a normal human.
Listen, nothing good happens when your occupation becomes your definition. When what you do becomes who you are, nothing good comes from that. You guys have talked about this with athletes that finish their career and then spectacularly go off the rails, whether it's drugs or other substances, whether it's gambling, whether it's sex, whatever it is, they lose themselves. Because what happens if you've defined yourself for a period of time by the fact that you are beloved on television, or you're a cartoon character on television, or whatever else, or you're a genius with music, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in front of a lawyer who doesn't give a shit about your creative skills. They just want you to answer some questions. It creates this schism. It doesn't have to be a pathology. I'm not suggesting it's some kind of psychological disorder. I think we often pathologize this stuff. But I still think it's sad that you can be that successful and have managed to reject everyone who might love you a little bit enough to challenge you out of your sphere.
You think it's irresponsible of me to diagnose Kanye after the last 3 years as some sort of on a spectrum? He's behaving in a way that suggests this isn't just fame and arrogance.
You're not diagnosing him. Like he'll reveal that. Yeah, he's
but
self-diagnosed.
okay, even if he didn't reveal that, though, you don't feel comfortable with that assessment based just on the behavior. Like when you're saying to everybody some form. Look, I saw this happen to my brother. A lot of weird stuff happened with my brother at the end, and one of them was this, like where the mania gets to such a point that you feel like you're the biggest and most important person in the world. But much as I said with Ricky Williams, who was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, and that disorder is you go to the grocery store and you think everyone's looking at you. But when he went to the grocery store, everybody was indeed looking at him. If you're predisposed to a certain arrogance here, and then you spike because of your brain chemistry and stuff to a place where, is that genius? Because he's been rewarded at every turn. When you can crater Adidas with your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I'm not suggesting that he doesn't have traits of people who've got real psychopathies, real problems. I'm simply, and nor even that you can recognize it when you see it in your family members, these behaviors. What I'm saying is, it does a real disservice to the millions and millions of people out there who have similar disorders but don't behave in such aberrant ways. That's something to consider, right? We try and say this is because of your diagnosis, when there are millions of people out there suffering similarly or sometimes even more acutely who don't behave in these aberrant ways.
That's what Mike Ryan used to say when I was talking about all the Antonio Brown malfeasance. And I'm like, how is that not something that's happening that seems to be brain issues? And Mike was saying, well, no, there are plenty of people, never mind brain issues, there are plenty of people who have any assortment of depressive tendencies or otherwise who aren't behaving in sports or anywhere else like Antonio Brown.
And it is different if you're in the spotlight, if you're in sports. There are exacerbating factors. So I'm not suggesting it's not a contributor. I suppose my thing here is I don't want people to think that they do that thing where they think because of the diagnosis that this person behaves in these reprehensible ways. That is a contributing factor, but there are other factors. And some of them are totally within the control of the individual. It isn't just that, oh, how unfortunate your brain chemistry was effed up when you were born, and now you're in this tough position. It's you also made some terrible choices, and you're now doing things purposefully and relying on the fact that we're going to let things slide because of your diagnosis. And I don't think we should. We work in companies sometimes where I have people say things like, well, the reason that we've got so many bullies in our environment is because, these really clever people are on the spectrum, they'll say. And what an incredible disservice to people who might have ASD, autism spectrum disorder, to imagine that because you have this, you're a terrible person who's awful to other people. No, these people are assholes who have ASD. That is not the same thing.
Dan, this is like the old, and bear with me, I know the messenger isn't the best, but it's like the old Bill Cosby stand-up where he says, so what are you laughing at?
No, it's just my face was showing and your name was showing underneath it.
Oh, that's a preview.
It's a preview.
So the old Bill Cosby stand-up, he says, the guy tells him, hey, have cocaine. And he's like, what does cocaine do? He says, well, it intensifies your personality. And Cosby says, well, what if you're an asshole? Right? And it's the same thing. It's like your personality is your personality. And then what you're afflicted with influences some of that. But at the end of the day, it brings it out. The other thing is, and John, I wonder if you see this a lot, where people, because they're either on the spectrum or just self-diagnosing, they take it as license to be an asshole. It's not just you're an asshole. It's like, oh, no, it's because of this. I can act any way I want.
Yeah, I've spoken to some teachers actually in schools, universities, and high schools in the States and in Europe, and they are dealing with kids who have either self-diagnosed or been told by their parents they have a certain disorder, and therefore them being rude in class or speaking out when they shouldn't be or not participating is somehow like they have license to do it now. I think it's really problematic. It's why the advice for psychologists is that we don't diagnose from a distance. It's really tempting because you see these constellations of behaviors and you think, I've recognized this, I've seen this before, but I just think agency. You're going to give people a chance to say, what part are you playing in this before we kind of throw away everything else and say, yeah, it's not your fault.
I love this show because this is a great segment on mental health. This is a photo of my friend College Mike's abs. He doesn't work out really at all. He drinks a lot of beer. He's a great hang. But look, you see that? Let's get rid of that lower third right there. Let's see these abs pop there. This guy's just gifted. Man.
He has an ab.
No. That's
he
six.
has a pair of abs.
I counted 6. Maybe it's a lighting in there. But Dan, you concede this guy has abs and he doesn't really care about.
This is where you can tell that straight guy standards are entirely different. But
really,
yeah.
I mean, you can. There's the definition.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, your thoughts?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Can you be someone who has an 8-pack with no exercise whatsoever, drinking beer like Mike's friend?
I thought you were going to ask to put on the poll, does College Mike have abs?
Because he does not.
And also that.
Well, we all do. We all have abs.
Yes, mine are covered, but he has a pair of abs that are exposed.
No, I counted 6.
I also counted 2. Chris, were you laughing? I saw you laughing during that segment. I think you and I were laughing at the same thing. I'm not totally sure. But you can hear that Amin's lip is fat.
Yes, it sounds ridiculous.
All of his analysis. I want him to give the most serious analysis, but also I want him to go viral with that sound on audio that makes it seem like his heavy tongue is slathered on every word he's speaking.
Ridiculous.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugots is presented by Venmo.
I was just laughing with Meech during the break, making fun of him about his chitty chitty bang bang reference. Tony, please get me all information you can on my old friend, emphasis on old, referencing chitty chitty bang bang.
So chitty chitty, I've never seen the movie. I've heard the reference to chitty chitty bang bang, but I didn't really know what it was. And apparently this is the synopsis of the story, so I can read it so I can see like what the movie's about, obviously. When a poor guy named Caracactus Potts.
Caracatus.
Okay. Caracatus Potts. It says cactus at the.
Dude, it's tough.
An eccentric inventor who barely has enough money to keep a roof over his two kids' heads. Are we tracking so far, Meech?
100%.
Buys a car that's a beat-up motor car and transforms it into a dream machine that can fly, float, and it seems to even think for itself.
Correct.
Okay, so we're at the day at the seashore with the car, which is called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, spawns an elaborate adventure in the land of Bulgaria as the Potts clan and candy heiress Truly Scrumptious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tries to rescue Grandpa Potts from his kidnappers, Baron and Baroness Bombburst. Right?
All right, so pretty close.
But he mentioned the
pretty close to reading, I mean.
The creepy child catcher, which is what he
Correct.
referenced
Yes.
to Stephen A. Smith, entices young Jeremy and Jemima Potts with
This
lollipops.
one is tough. This one's tough. I put you in a bad spot. When
It's-
we
it's
got
a lot of names,
characters,
eh?
yeah, a lot of names, and we're doing. Look,
Caracatus.
I'm trying to keep up in the modern age, and this is what we've got to do. Chitty chitty bang bang. We ride it
What
into
year
the
is
sky.
this?
We ride it into the sky in order to get young people. The reason he brought up chitty chitty bang bang again during the break, while I was like just really grateful in general for this man's friendship as we celebrate 20 years, all of us together. He's special.
Special.
He's so special.
That makes it worse now.
He makes the show better every time he's here, and he's always done that for many, many, many years. But he's old. That's how you do that for many, many years. And he mentioned Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and during the break, he was still creeped out by Stephen A. Smith, and he was doing. He was just. I don't know what was happening, but he was describing the whole thing as sticky.
Well, where was the lie?
It is sticky, right?
But he was spitting facts.
I know, but I don't know how. See, this is that thing about straight men broadly. I don't understand why anybody who's a straight man would imagine that speaking this way would make women think, oh, yeah, that's what I want. Somebody who looks at me like I'm a super creep.
I'm just talking to the boys.
Yeah, he's talking to the guys.
Just
That's what
talking
it
to
is. He's not
fellas.
talking to women.
Yeah.
He's talking to the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a world where women exist.
The other
and might
part of
listen.
Next is too close. Like, not the lady part.
Yeah, and also, just sticky, man. And the way he moved his fingers while he was talking about it, it's like, God, women aren't chicken wings. for
Like the
crying
Baron.
out loud.
Like, man, what I liked about
Quite.
that clip is I felt like he was letting me inside. Like,
Ooh.
Like, here, that's why he whispered.
Yeah, see, this is that thing. You talk to each other in a way that is really unusual.
You know, he's a performer, right? Like he's running bit there. Like
He
he's
is
a
a performer.
character. Like
I
that's
tend-
like being like, wow, Tom Cruise, did you really have to flex while checking your watch during that awesome volleyball scene in Top Gun?
This is the thing. I actually just had this conversation yesterday. I mean, Ricky sent me a note on what is the appeal of Stephen A. Smith, and my answer was he's the best professional wrestler anywhere in sports television. Like it used to be Cosell, but it's very much a professional wrestler. It doesn't even mean that he doesn't believe what it is that he's saying, because he does believe what he's saying. It's not that
Does he believe what he's saying?
Yeah, I don't think that part's an act at all. I do not believe that Stephen A. Smith is bluffing on what he thinks. I just think he's turning up the volume to the maximum professional wrestler level that there is to beat all the other people who are coming for the throne of the king of this business.
Dan, you said Ricky texted you that. Is that Ricky Martinez who gave the gift yesterday?
Was it Rudy? Was his Rudy's brother?
No, it was Ricky Williams. I'm sorry I didn't
Oh.
make that clarification. But
A lot of Rickies out there in Miami.
Yes, that's true. That is. And that was a really inside joke you just did. Call back on yesterday's gifts that one of them came from Rudy Martinez, and I couldn't read it because I didn't have my glasses on it. Like, why would you guys decide to go that inside on the joke? Any particular reason that you would do that? Like that inside, where you're referencing something from yesterday. I'm guessing very few people got your Rudy Martinez joke. Not that it's not okay to make a joke for 4 and 5 people around here.
Well, I just felt because it was yesterday that like it wasn't that inside. Now, if it was a month later, then yeah, no one remembers that. But it's still fresh in the minds of the listeners.
All right. Thank you for your contributions.
It hurts to talk.
Playing hurt. Yes.
I'm pretty sure I recognize one of the toys that Rose has there from yesterday's gift wrapping bit.
All right.
That is actually the present that Greg Cody tried to wrap.
All right. Let's check in again with Rose here at the Toy Drive at Dolphin Mall. We're stirring her to life. Her beard is not working very well. We continue to collect toys on behalf of branches. Rose, how is everything going out there? What can you update us on? What can you tell us about how the Toy Drive is going now on its final day around Miami, but we'll still be collecting every day 7 to 2 here at the Elser Hotel, the coffee house downstairs. You can bring your toys. They're collecting them. Coffee Corner, excuse me. Rose, how's it going at Dolphin Mall?
It's going great. Look at all these toys I got. They're surrounding me, and I hope I get more so I get drowned in toys.
Okay, but it looks like
I don't know if you see.
Yeah, one of those toys looks like it was from yesterday, though. It looks that.
Oh yeah, don't pay attention to that one.
Okay.
Build your coffee, Rose.
Okay, be careful, Rose, don't ruin the 6 toys you have. There, Rose, come on, Rose. Rose, Santa has to get. All right, I'm glad we checked in with Rose. We'll check in again one more time before the end of the show. Thank you for your contribution, Santa.
It.
I don't know. She does have it, right?
I have one more contribution.
Okay.
If you donate more toys, I'll do any challenge you want.
No,
skydiving, etc.
Okay, wait a minute.
Dan pays for it.
All right.
Okay, one more toy and you skydive.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
One more toy and you skydive. Okay, great idea.
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
What a
by you
strange
got
way
it.
to say I just really want to skydive.
Yeah, well, you know what? I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'll buy the toy. You're skydiving.
Thank you, Roy. Rose. I think
Let's
there
do
are
it.
liability issues there. We got to be careful. We got to learn from the pepper.
Tony did it once.
I also think
It was amazing, by the way.
I heard
Remember the head on the shoulder thing?
The guy told me, Meech, if a guy tells you, okay, let me put you through the scenario, Meech, you wouldn't be able to skydive. I'm very sorry, but that's just the rules. That's the name of the game, you know? So you get on this tiny plane, right? And obviously you know me, I'm a big guy, so it's kind of tight in that tiny plane. You have to sit like on a bench.
I'm already disputing the first part of this, but go on.
But for a tiny plane is what I'm saying.
Okay, yes.
For a tiny plane.
Relative to a tiny plane.
Exactly. So you have to sit on a bench, right? And then you kind of swivel up as you move forward as people start jumping out of the plane. There's a guy who is attached to me, obviously, because I'm not jumping by myself, who's like, I'm trying to give a good comp. Like Ethan. Have you seen Ethan outside? He weighs about he's about 5'6".
Yeah, he's a spider monkey.
About 103 pounds.
A howler monkey.
So I've got this guy on my back, and I'm like, how are you going to help me do anything? Because it's a little, I need to be able to make things happen. So he tells me in broken English, hey, when we're about to jump out of the plane, make sure that you put your neck back, because if you go out, your neck can snap off. It's the last thing I want is to die, 25,000 feet up in the air. So,
if I may, by the way, Meech, one of the things that you need to know here is that in video that we are filibustering in order to find, I will simply tell you that Tony, who prides himself on Cuban machismo, simply surrenders.
There was some succumbing.
I would say nestles.
Okay, I don't know which one's the best of these.
Where is nestling is excellent. Where is the video?
That's why
we're trying to find
that's
it.
Why
He's
I was
telling the
stretching
story. He's
right,
stretching the story in order to get to the video because we kind of sprung this on Lewis. But this is a great callback as opposed to Rudy Martinez. This right here is a playground for me because to present this to me, Meech is going to howl with laughter at Tony, this man who would back down Meech. Tony, who thinks he would back down Meech in the post.
Meech couldn't back me down.
Right, and that Meech 6'10". What did you weigh in your playing days at what body fat?
275 at not much body fat.
Okay, and so this person will enjoy watching video of you surrendering yourself over to a spider monkey who at that point your fear was such he could have done anything he wanted to you and you would have succumbed.
But again, Dan, you're looking down at 20,000 feet of just air and you're hoping that this guy who is small and frail can be able to do the things
You're
necessary.
trusting him with your life.
I'm trusting
a
with my life.
A stranger.
A guy I met 30 seconds ago that's just strapped to my back now.
Size of Ethan.
Exactly, the size of Ethan. So Can we bring Ethan here, by the way? So we
Yeah,
can give
I'm
a-
gonna say, you want to talk about
Ethan,
deep cuts.
come
You guys
get
keep
on
saying
Anthony's
Ethan-
back.
Ethan,
Get on
like-
his back.
Come,
Yes.
come
More
over here,
stretching.
Ethan.
Like Ethan is this universal measurement.
No, he was the talk of the town yesterday at Brightside. I don't know what we're talking about.
What I would love, and I don't know if we can slap all of these things together, but there is a lot I want to do with my old friend Meech. One of them is this calm app thing. I don't know how we combine all the things to calm you before you skydive, but at some point here, I'd like you doing a segment with Ethan strapped to your back. Like I'd like to see what that looks like and sounds like as you and Amin talk about whatever it is that Amin was trying to bring up here.
I was just saying that. Well, there it is.
Aw.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is an Ethan. That's the size of one Ethan. So when we describe the skydiving instructor,
Put your feet up so we get a real sense.
Are you
of this.
actually on the ground?
Yeah, he's tiny. Again, a howler monkey, a spider monkey. Come on.
Get on his back. There you go. That was way too easy.
So imagine I'm here like this, right? I'm scooting through this tiny plane where I have to be like this, right? So I'm scooting through. All of a sudden, he tells me, "Hey, listen, to make sure, come on, Ethan, get on here, dude."
Just like whisper in his ear, like pretend you're whispering in his ear.
Now, I have, if I may, and this is a very well-produced show, but I can tell you, video has told me, they've just radioed in, we have the actual video. Do you guys want to go with the recreation?
I'm having fun.
No,
right now.
continue. Continue.
Do it slower.
Okay, so he tells me, listen, you're gonna look out that side of the plane. There's gonna be 15,000 feet of just air. Make sure that you nestle your neck back into the like
They
part
told
of
you
the
to nestle.
neck,
The nape.
the neck, right? To make sure that your head doesn't snap forward and then something happens, you pass out, or worse, right? And when I hear or worse, I'm like, okay, man, I gotta figure it out. So as my legs are dangling outside of this tiny plane, I do what I was told to do.
You nestled.
I went like this and just nestled into the back of his.
Meech, it's more of like a.
Well, here's the video for Meech. You will see it yourself, Meech, and you tell us whether.
Meech, look at my feet.
Watch, he's about to go.
You please tell us if we overpromised
wait.
when
He
we
pulled
tell
your
you.
hair, dude.
Oh,
You gotta see it. He pulled your hair.
Meech, look at me go, Meech.
He pulled your hair from the back, dog.
That's when I had longer hair.
He grabbed you by the forehead.
He really did.
He took you.
I've seen a lot of videos like this. They didn't end this way, but that is cute, though. This is what is happening in the studio. Cute. What is happening there. Cute.
You could see how I had to just listen to what the instructor was saying. You know?
Sometimes
One more
it's
time.
easier if you just do as you're told.
One more time, little nestle here.
Let's see it
All right.
one more time
5,
here. Let's
4,
see this one more
and
time.
nestle.
I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, there is no. That's not nestling. That is control.
Yes, surrender.
Meech, I want to see you 20,000 feet up in the air and see what you'd do.
Okay.
Listen, I'd do exactly as I'm told, but I'd be less
Exactly
churlish
right.
about
Thank
it.
you, sir.
All right, thank you, Ethan.
All right, Ethan.
I will have him on later. We'll see if we put. Thank you. Good seeing you. There are a number of other things that we need to get to with Meech, including Stump the Meech. And I do want to get his thoughts because I don't want to waste all of his time with the silliness. You're having quite the beef publicly with Elon Musk and then the internet after that. You don't mind your challenges like this, so you want to explain to us. I have not talked to you about any of this, but I imagine that you are just generally appalled by the way that haves are accruing more and more power and disparity from have-nots, and they will soon rule or ruin the world because they have all of the power. What is the nature of your beef with Elon Musk?
I think it's fair to say it can't be a beef because I think beefs have to be two-sided, and I don't think he knows I exist. So I don't like bullies, and I don't like hypocrites. And he embodies both of those things. I don't like grifters, people who would sell snake oil to people who don't need it. I don't like people who, on the one hand, talk about themselves as being self-made, and on the other hand, never make anything. He's a cuckoo, and I keep saying this because it's important that we recognize he's a cuckoo. He implants himself in another person's organization and then finds a way to make him the owner of that organization, and then finds a way legally to be called the founder of that organization. He's not the founder of Tesla. The two gentlemen who founded Tesla are the founders of Tesla. He simply had a legal agreement with them when they left. He would be able to call themselves founder. That's it. So he's contrived this position, and he doesn't do anything unless he knows he's going to get something back for it. And now he's talking about involving himself in British politics by supporting the far right in Britain. And so I take offense at that. If he wants to screw up America, I'm not here for that either. I don't think that people will benefit from his presence in politics. But I certainly don't want him involved in British politics. And so I've been telling people, I think he is a capricious, cruel, deviant man who wants without need and is insatiable. He'll never have enough. He'll never have those moments of clarity that most of us have. Those moments where we look back with some form of shame when we see the trail of destruction that we've wrought, either with our actions or our lack of action. He'll never have those moments, and so he's going to be dangerous until the day he dies.
I want another angle of Tony surrendering, and I'm telling the video team while Meech talks that they need to immediately get me another and
It's a wide- like a
better
wide angle, yeah.
Well, yes, because the surrender, the grabbing of the forehead, all of these things are not quite as clear in the video we saw as the one we're about to show, because the one I've seen is a better one than the one that we just saw, but we were in a bit of a rush, which allows me, based on the forehead trigger I just had, I wanted to ask you guys something. Matthew Kugler, the producer of South Beach Sessions, he's done an excellent job with it recently.
Thank you, Dan.
Fake Matthew Kugler, that's excellent. It would help if anyone knew that he was a soft talker.
Again, and mine was too deep a cut.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm objecting to his as well. I'm objecting to his as well. His was no better. His was just made to Mike and Tony are the only ones who got that joke.
It was a great joke. I was here for both shows.
Roy might have gotten that joke.
I did.
Okay, that's it. That's the group. No one else got that joke. It was a joke for three in that room. No one else knows that Matthew Kugler is a soft talker.
Can't hear him.
Now the world knows.
Now everybody knows. But I want to ask you guys a question because I said this to him and he got really offended. And the thing that made me think of it is just what we were talking about, this coming. At the holiday party, he was offended with me because I said to him, you look like somebody who would have been in a 1950s barbershop quartet.
That's so
Great
good.
call.
With the hat on?
So good.
Right. No, and not yes, with the hat on. But he said,
vest?
"No. What is that supposed to mean?" And then this is where he got offended. It's the forehead. And then he held his forehead and he got the real shame. And he's like, "Why would you say that?"
He put his hand on his head.
Yes, and I'm like, no, everybody's got a forehead. There's nothing wrong with you having a forehead. You're no.
That's all we
What are
see.
you doing,
No,
Dan?
he's not going to like. Oh, no. Don't do that to him. He's not going to like that. No, that was a private conversation. He's not going to like it. But it's not. Everyone's got foreheads. I did a Google search and I'm showing him barbershop quartet. And everyone's got a forehead. Every single person. They all had one. I'm like, what's offensive about that? How have I hurt your feelings? What are you insecure about? We all have one of those. Yours is no worse. If someone should be worried about that, it's Stephen A.
Oh, no.
Shrapnel.
Back to the nestling.
Okay, let's see this video now. Let's see what. No, that's not the video.
I love that.
I didn't want a barbershop quartet. Hold on, I'll send you. It's still on my phone. I'll send you the one I was looking at because I went through and I'm like, look at all these foreheads. It's just all barbershop quartet foreheads. But let's look at Tony and what can only be described now as succumbing. There it is. Oh my God.
You might as well say, "Take me."
Oh, no.
The way his eyes rolled back.
Oh my goodness.
John, as you can see,
I'm
just being told what to do. As you look down there, John. Look down there. People look like, and you can't even see people from their houses. Look like ants. My neck could have been snapped off.
He could have spit in your mouth after that.
Oh. Did he whisper in your ear?
Oh,
You're safe. You're safe with me.
You're special. It was too loud. I couldn't hear you.
God, I've seen that. I'm telling you, that is pornographic. That is pornographic.
What kind of porn?
Well, I don't know. I just know that
All
he
of
ends up by answering, "Thank you, Daddy." That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Imagine if you did die and that's your last act.
That's what I was, imagine. Imagine the show we would have had. Imagine the show we would have had. My neck snaps off. Okay.
I'm pretty sure, Tone, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that our show ends as soon as that liability as soon as that liability hits the earth.
Not before one last episode airs. A tribute to Tony. And then we just do what we're doing right now. On loop.
He died doing what he loved. Succumbing.
What he really loved.
When are we going to get together on a column app and on whatever visuals we're going to produce to people? Because, I mean, I'd like your expert analysis on this. Tony, I believe to be, even though Tony is a very good basketball player, I believe that Tony doesn't understand the size and strength of the people in the NBA, and then he will tell me some form of I played against Fab Melo, who was very strong as well.
Rest in peace.
I don't believe that Tony, if he were playing one-on-one with Meech now, would have very much chance to do anything with him in the paint because I think Tony's underestimating how strong someone like this is. What would be your front office analysis of what I'm saying?
Who gets the ball first?
That is the answer.
Because if he gets the ball first, he's got a chance. Because Meech hasn't played in how long? And
a long time.
Right, out of shape and everything.
Not as mobile.
And Tony's a good shooter, so also he gets to step back and take Meech out of his comfort zone a little bit.
True.
But if Meech gets the ball first.
If you never miss, you're in great shape.
Rarely do.
Oh, but wait a minute, though.
There's the rarely, you see. This is the
because
caveat.
if I told you I never miss, you know it'd be a lie. But if I tell you I rarely miss, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, he can shoot. Hold on.
The thing that
Is he
happened
right?
here, wait a minute, though. Now Meech is, I mean, you're coming closer to Tony's side than we were last time we talked about this because Meech was 11-0 is what Meech was saying.
Yeah, but that's assuming that Meech gets the ball first.
If he doesn't miss.
I'll tell you, Dan, I'll tell you a story. My buddy Andrew Schultz, years and years ago, challenged Jay Williams.
No,
Part
you
of
know
the
what?
story.
No,
It's part of the story.
You know what, though? I made a mistake here. That's not Look at Me, Louie. That's Name Drop. I don't have Name Drop on this console. That I had to separate. Forgive me for that. Look at Me, Louie, and Name Drop. So
necessary, because if he just said I had a friend named Andrew, like how is he playing Jay Williams? Well, what kind of network does this guy have?
I do like the whistling sound of like the cartoon bomb dropping.
Coyote.
Yeah.
As Tony with his neck bent backwards, falling from the sky.
So Schultz challenged Jay Williams, and he said, "I'll beat you." And Jay Williams said, "We can play to 7. I'll spot you 6. Wow. And I will still beat you." And sure enough, Schultz got the ball first. He missed. And then what I told Schultz is going to happen is exactly what happened. Jay Williams, you think of him, oh, he was a point guard. And he's not doing any of that. He's taking your ass to the block and boom, 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 layup every single time. So he scores 6 straight points like that. On the 7th one, because he wanted to be disrespectful, he said, I'm a step back. And as he's dribbling, he throws the ball off of Andrew's head.
Oh, my God.
Off the easy.
Hard. And the funny thing was, Andrew, after maybe his first or second bucket or whatever, totally spent. This is a guy who plays pickup all the time. After 2 buckets of Jay Williams just ground and pound, he was done. He was like a boxer. He had jelly legs and everything. But throwing the ball off his head woke him up somehow because Jay catches it, perfect rhythm, puts up the shot, and it rims out. And Andrew grabs the ball, and now he's energized. His pride is in there. And he hits him with his signature hezzy dribble, puts up a bullshit shot that bounces and bounces and bounces and drops. Wow. He ended up winning, but it was not because he could guard or he could beat Jay Williams. It was because Jay Williams had hubris, and he wanted to disrespect him on top of
John, do you have
defeat.
hubris?
I do not. No. I didn't have hubris when I played. I don't now. There's no beef in this for me. It's
Absolutely,
just,
I agree.
It's not a big deal. So
I think you're in better shape than when this challenge was.
This is also very true. I am in better shape than when this challenge was issued.
So also, funny story. I once played pickup ball with John Amaechi. You don't remember this. This was years and years ago at Arizona State. You were in town.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so we played. We were on the same team. And it was great because, I got this NBA player. Man, he's passing the ball a lot. That's great. Like, I thought you were going to shoot every time, but you didn't. You also shot almost exclusively jump shots.
Yep.
Right? But then we were on different teams. And so I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put, you're going to put me on the worst offensive player. And then I was just hard double every single time. And for me, it was like, this is the pinnacle of, like, defensive execution. And for me, it was like, I just want to get a workout and just run up and down the floor.
At the time, I think I've told you guys before, I just couldn't believe the idea that when this man was in the shape of professional basketball at this size, he would run on the treadmill at a speed of 10.0 for an hour, and then get off it and not be particularly winded, just be fine. And I'm like, how is that possible that this machine works this way?
Dan, this is the old line from Airplane. You tried dragging Walton up and down the floor for 48 minutes and then get back to me. It's like, this guy's running around with Shaq and these guys. You think a 10.0 on the treadmill is real hard?
No, but a 10.0 for an hour at this size. But I will say, though, as he was talking to you just now, Tony, I heard him groan when he was crossing his legs because his back hurts.
That's also true.
So, I heard the sound hiss out of him just crossing his legs because his back is hurt. So when you say he's in better shape, I'm not certain because he's on drugs and he's hurting over here because I just heard the sound that came out of him. It was creaking.
Never underestimate the ability to turn it on for a short period of time, even if it means a great deal of pain later on.
Let me show you a video of
this
what
is one of my favorite.
Why don't
things.
you remember playing against
This
Amin
is one of my favorite
in
things.
pickup ball with Amin as your teammate here? That jump shot there.
I want to say this right now. If I'd ever seen that jump shot, it would have been indelibly burned into my brain. I would remember you to this day if I'd ever seen that jump shot before. I'm assuming for that reason that this must have been some kind of weird anomaly. You were drunk. I don't know what had happened.
That's not an
But
anomaly.
I do know that when I look at that jump shot, it makes me feel uneasy, as if something is wrong in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this was my defense all along. There's no shortage of people that I played basketball with in my life that you know. Some of them NBA players, some of them NBA coaches, some of them are NBA media.
Oh, come on.
If I
Come
ever
on.
shot like that.
Hit him with name drop.
Well, I didn't name drop anybody.
There are no names. No names.
Does it not make you feel slightly queasy when you watch it, though?
No, because I took it and I made it into something even greater. I did. I made a video that went crazy viral.
It's the match of the hands at the end. How does that happen?
I don't know. That's the whole point. The whole point was, before that shot, Meech, I'd shot 3 or 4 from that same spot.
You can't do that.
No, listen to me. Let me tell the story, right?
All right.
Shot this is the 4th or 5th shot from that spot. I'd made all the other ones. The guy who recorded it was like, "Oh, that's cool. Amin is draining these shots. Let me get a video." The first one I shot after he stopped recording is that one, and he said, "Oh, this is even better."
Performance anxiety.
I didn't know. I didn't know until after the game. This is before the game. I found out after the game. He said, "You haven't checked Twitter, have you?" I'm like, "No. Why? What happened?" And I thought it was because there was a turnover late in the game that I made. I was like, "Yeah, it was a dumb turnover." He's like, "Oh, it's not about the turnover." I'm like, "Oh, then what is it about?" And then I saw that, and that's when I realized
It's about that
oh,
mad
my gosh.
shot right there.
Yeah. What? How's that behind me?
Oh my God!
Oh.
It's the twist of the fingers and
Look,
the 2 stages as well. If you watch as it goes up, it's like it's here and then it's like there.
As I watch it, I always think to myself, I think I was trying to get it back. Like, no, come back. You know.
I urge you, if you're listening on audio this week, to find us on YouTube because some of the supplements are funny, and we need to use those video behind you more often. That should be playing behind Amin at all times when he's on the show.
No, you know what?
Man.
I'm going to stick up for the audio audience and say that's unnecessary.
Let's
play Tony again.
Let's play some sound here. I want to get I want to know because I think, well, with a bad back, maybe not. I don't believe that Tony can withstand what this, even at this age, would feel like backing down. And it's no slight on Tony. It's just a celebration of the strength of what it takes to get to the top of professional sports. But the thing that I wanted to play for Meech here, because we're talking about this the last couple of days, I haven't seen it. I started to watch it last night, and I heard my voice in it in the first little bit, and then I turned it off. I'm like, hold on a second, honey. And then I'm like, we're going to watch this together. I want to watch what this thing is because Aaron Rodgers, in my lifetime, you have whatever opinion you want to have about him. You cannot say he's uninteresting. You're not allowed to say he's uninteresting. You may be tired of him and sick of him, but this story is something that has not been seen in American sports. Someone this great going from televised national insurance salesman when that league gives you 10 guys who get the endorsement money. 10 guys get to be face of the league for that entire monster sport. He was one of them and was embracing, as I've told you before, going to the apartment of Mina Kimes. Let me get out in the public and show them more of myself. I'm a 4-time MVP. I've been arguing that that's the best quarterback I've ever seen. I argued it while Tom Brady was winning the titles. Better at that skill than anyone I've ever seen. To see him then short circuit into something that now has a documentary, Enigma, where he keeps claiming he doesn't care what people think, but he keeps going out of his way to show people that they should think something. Because he wants to be seen, understood, accepted. Yesterday on the show, Billy said, I don't think I'm going to love him. I don't think I'm going to grow in a documentary with more information and access to love him. I think I'm sad for him because he seems empty, seems unhappy, seems like he's searching. But aren't we all? He does so with ayahuasca, and now he's revealing himself with a story that I don't think has much precedent in American sport. Someone like this, doing this, and now people are like sick of him. I don't want to talk about anti-vax stuff. But here he is still on Disney, still with McAfee after there was a howling a year ago about that's not going to exist anymore. Soon that'll be gone. Nah, it's not gone. There it is, 4-10 team, middle of your week on Disney. There's Aaron Rodgers saying, show me your vax status. When I play this sound for you of Ryan Clark, because Ryan Clark works at ESPN, and there's just a tension around this thing that exists at ESPN that isn't like ESPN, and people like Ryan Clark have Disney as the backing, but here's Aaron Rodgers every week, 4-10, not gone. Disney can't get rid of him. Disney couldn't do anything. There he is with McAfee every week. And here's Ryan Clark, bothered by what it is that Aaron Rodgers is doing on McAfee.
Because if we've learned anything from Mina Kimes, you don't actually have to step on the field to be excellent at the job of analyzing football. And I spoke to that hypocrisy because you were getting paid to do that. And as far as your vaccination status, so you can stop trying to trick people into thinking that we want to talk about that above the stink of your film, I've never heard it one more time after your incident. And the only reason we spoke about it then was because based on your vaccination status, it was going to determine how long you were out. And also, people didn't care that you weren't vaccinated. They cared that you were slimy about it. They cared that you were deceitful. And in analyzing you, what I know is your QBR is 21st. I also know that you're the quarterback of a 4-10 team who has to win the last 3 games of the season to even be equal to what last year's team was without you. Now, I get it. You get on the show and you talk about my brooch and you curse and all this tough talk. I just need you to know, don't none of that scare me. I'm going to do my job the way I'm supposed to do it.
Meech, what are your thoughts in general? I don't know how much attention you're paying to Aaron Rodgers. You know next to nothing about American football, but I bet you know something about him. Yes,
a conspiracy theorist, and slightly oddball as far as I can tell. But that's it. That's all I know. He made a bit of news in the United Kingdom because of him being outspoken about vaccination, but that's literally all I know. I don't understand. I mean, it's one of those things where so many sports people get told to shut up and dribble, depending on what it is they want to advocate about. And then you've got people like him who get to say off-the-wall stuff that will kill people. And that's a fundamental truth of this. If you talk about the way your new incoming health secretary is talking about polio, vaccinations, you're going to get more polio and more people will die. More people will have lives of misery who shouldn't. And I don't think that you should be allowed to do that just because you played sports. There are some things you're not qualified to talk about, and those are one of those things for him. But again, I don't know him. There's so many other things in this world that you could influence with your power. I don't understand why this would be it. And the idea of self-exploration, by the way, is bullshit. Don't self-explore while you're doing harm to others. Self-explore in your own mind, in your own house, with academics and influential and inspirational people that you can pay to be around you, But you don't have to do that while you're experimenting and clumsily making other people fall for the same bollocks that you're falling for. That's my problem with it.
Have any of you seen Enigma yet? Because I'm looking forward to seeing this.
I haven't seen it, but I saw the clip of him on ayahuasca talking about the caterpillar and the butterfly.
Giggling.
It made me feel incredibly sad, right? Because like this is supposed to be, for some people, an awakening and enlightening experience. For other people, it does a lot of harm, right? It depends on your body chemistry, on how you react to whatever it is that you're ingesting, that you don't always know exactly what's in there, right? So when you look at him having that experience, like, man, that should be not on camera. That should be something for you to experience because you made that decision to do that. Like, I don't want to see it.
Surrounded by people who love and will care for you, not surrounded by people who want to
Strangers.
exploit this footage to sell a show. It's crazy to me.
So this is the part that I'm curious about. Kanye West was pretty much always that person. Now, he's gotten way more off the beaten path as time has gone on, but many people who knew him 20 years ago, 25 years ago, like, yep, that's who he's always been. And we just didn't know the mass public, right? Or we didn't get the full grasp of it. Was Aaron Rodgers always like this and we just didn't know?
Not in plain sight. Not in plain sight. If he was, he was concealed. The same way he was immunized. Like if he was wearing if he was this, it was hidden.
So like that's my question though. Like some people change, like legitimately change and unravel or whatever. Did he unravel, or was he always like this and he just had a great like facade?
So having read his book, Going to Cal.
Listen to it.
Really, I read it with my ears. And so going to Cal, he was brought up very Christian. He had an interesting upbringing, and going to Cal really broadened his horizons in that, these other deities, they're good people too. And he started questioning his identity with religion, and that led him to questioning pretty much everything. And as the years went on, as he dated Olivia Munn around that time frame, he really changed his personality. And it's kind of like a line of demarcation where, he was able to conceal it publicly for some time. We had him on the show. He would allude to things, never go full bore into them. And then the pandemic hit, and it just all unraveled publicly.
I wouldn't underestimate the power of kind of social pressure too. Because some of these people that were wondering, were you always like this or did you hide it? It's not really about that. Sometimes it's more calculated than that. There are things that people talk about now because they know they can talk about them. It is okay to have a conversation with somebody who can still be seen credible, who thinks that the earth is flat, or who thinks that dinosaurs didn't exist, or that birds are drones. The social pressure against those people is gone. Whereas I still think that if you talk about those things, you're a little bit of a crackpot.
John, I'm curious because, again, like you work with a lot of people in this regard. Do you, like, what is the long-term impact of the pandemic? Like, I feel like people changed. That thing changed people in a way that I didn't feel impacted. Like, it sucked and it was like a boring time and a scary time. But I don't think about it much now. And I feel like me in 2019 is pretty much the same as me right now. But I feel as I go around, I see these videos of people freaking out on airplanes and just acting a fool in public. I feel like the pandemic changed something in people, like on an emotional stability level. Do you experience that, or is that just kind of anecdotal?
No, I think there are some, the data is out because not enough time has passed for people to do really good studies on this. But there's a couple of things. One is that the pandemic was amazingly exploited by people who wanted to challenge authority of every kind. So you're talking about people normally in planes, when you're told by a flight attendant to do something, you just do something and you don't kick off because you know there's consequences. Whereas now, the very act of violating that authority is empowering for people. Being thrown off a plane, going onto a no-fly list, puts you in the rarest of air. And there's a group of people who exploited that to try and make people anti-authoritarian. And we've seen the impact of that on, frankly, a governmental scale in this country and in Britain. The other side of this is that one of the defenses that a lot of people had against their minds working against them was the presence of other people. Even the meaningless kind of, I'm hanging out after work, catching up and playing softball or whatever people do, that was a defense against you being in your head and your head coming up with some crazy shit that wasn't challenged. But all of a sudden the pandemic came and a whole bunch of people find themselves alone with their thoughts, perhaps for the first time, and night after night after night, and especially after the moments of, that Zoom wine catch-up bullshit that everybody hated after. Once that died down, you suddenly realized it's just me and my thoughts, allowing them to spin and spin. And after a few months, an idea that you would have thought unconscionable, completely ridiculous, became embedded as something that you've always believed. And then you left, and you're now suddenly surrounded by people with these very unusual, sometimes dangerous thoughts. I think that's part of it too.
The thing that I wanted to get to here before we check back in with the toy drive, talk to Dirk Nowitzki, is because
what? We're doing what?
We're going to get back to the toy drive, and we're going to talk to Dirk Nowitzki.
He's on the show today?
Yes, he's on in a few minutes. Yes. Did you not know that? You're leaving? Okay. This is great.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Okay. I thought you knew this. I thought everybody knew this. Forgive me. Dirk Nowitzki is going to be on in moments. You're going to do the same thing with him that you did with Paul Pierce?
Yeah, I'd rather he leave than embarrass us again.
With a legend, Dan.
No. This, I actually respect this man. I'm afraid of him. It's just triggering for me. Paul Pierce sucks.
Okay, very good. Yes, yes, that was very strong. You though, Meech, when I'm seeing, and I got to get to this toy drive too, because I see that Rose now has more toys than she's laying on the floor. And I got to get to Stump the Meech. So we got a lot to get to here before all of this stuff. But when you talk about the stuff that we were talking about with Aaron Rodgers, the pandemic, and you and Tony feel comfortable enough, and I get it, he's putting it out in public, to be like, man, that seems like an intimate thing. We don't have to see your entire life. You can do that intimately and just keep it to yourself. It seems to me that somehow this person wants desperately to be seen while claiming that he doesn't want desperately to be seen. Like, this documentary, everything that he's doing, he wants in front of you something that's a work of art for you to discern. You cannot tell me that person isn't wanting to be seen when he's going to the apartment of Mina Kimes at the start of all this. Write the feature story, humanizing writer who writes about human beings. Write about me for real.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to be seen, but the same as the bloke who was running with the abs earlier today. What he wants is to be seen a very specific way. And he wants everybody to interpret his run, his body, that way. And he would be offended or upset if he was seen a different way, even if that's our right as human beings to witness it. So Aaron Rodgers, he wants to be seen, but he wants to be seen a certain way. Just in the same way I've met people who are flat earthers, and they want to be taken seriously, even though that is impossible to do with somebody who believes the earth is flat, because physics wouldn't work. It doesn't change the fact that that's what they want. And so when it doesn't happen, it's incredulous to them. Then it's like, why can't you? It's like it's dehumanizing instead of just taking it as you can't be taken seriously if you do this. Or if you put this very intimate thing out there, you can't control how people are going to perceive it.
Dirk Nowitzki is next. I don't know if Meech played against him. Did he play against him? Dirk Nowitzki next.